Tim Wilson, Ride for the Cure.
Hi,
I'm
I'm
really delighted you're here.
very happy to be here. Having to have a chance to talk about our Tour de Cure event in Lexington in August.
How long have you been helping people through this event?
Well, I got involved as a participant back in 1994 in a cycling event shortly after Tour de Cure began. I eventually became a part of planning committees and a chairman of a multi-day event that was part of Tour de Cure, the fundraising event for the American Diabetes Association. And in 2014, uh, my job situation and their needs for a new person to coordinate an event came together. And so I've been working for the ADA since 2014, coordinating various Tour de Cure events here in New England. And currently, we now have a single Tour de Cure event, the New England Tour de Cure, that takes place in Lexington. And I'm the lead coordinator of that for us here in New England.
Tim, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about the event. I'm excited to put this on my podcast. Let's start with what is one of the questions people most frequently ask about this event?
Uh, Mostly, how far are the routes? How far do they have to ride?
Uh-huh.
Because people will see folks that are all kitted up and looking like, Tour de France riders, and we try to stress we have something for everybody. So you don't have to be somebody who rides 50 miles every weekend, or that's their greatest concern is or how hilly is it is a very common question.
That's my
Because
question. How hilly is it, Tim?
um, the longer the routes, the hillier they get. And
Okay.
that's kind of part and parcel of being here in New England. You can't go particularly far without encountering a hill unless you're close to the beach. We're not terribly close to a beach. So our shorter routes, the 5 mile, not really much in the way of hills, a little bit in 15, but as you get up to the 30 to 62 and 100, they would fairly be described as hilly.
Let me ask you, because I'm rehabilitating a spinal injury, and regularly, as I'm riding my bicycle in the areas that I do, if I'm tired, I'll just get off my bike and walk it for a particularly high hill. And there are
Yep.
plenty in Somerville, Cambridge area.
Oh
Um,
yeah, definitely summerable.
yeah, yeah. So I'm assuming that's fine to do on a ride like this. Is there any kind of signal
Oh
I'll need
yeah.
to give if I'm going to do it?
People can do whatever's working for them. The only
Okay.
thing we advise is if you're going to do that, you know, stay on the side of the road so people can pass you safely.
Yeah,
And another thing, especially this time of year, we advise people is if you stop in the shade. Um,
that's smart.
you're going to get a lot more out of that rest if you're standing under a tree than if you're under the blazing sun. So, but we have vehicles that if somebody really, they hadn't ridden in a while and they decided, well, the longest I've ridden is 10 miles, but I want to try the 32-mile ride, and they get 20 miles into it and they're like, the lakes don't have any more. We have support vehicles that can pick them up and either transport them to the next rest stop and then they can get back on again, or bring them all the way into the finish. So we don't, it's not like once you leave, you have to finish. Um, we even allow people who may have decided could have been March or June when they signed up that they wanted to ride 100 miles or 62 miles, and they get to that day and they're like, I don't think so. As long as they arrive in time for the route that they're choosing to ride goes off, then they can change their minds that morning. Our
That's
longest
great.
two rides actually leave together, 100 miles and 62 miles, in part because it gives people an option that they share the same route for about 45 miles. And at that point, they split. One returns to Lexington, the other heads north to New Hampshire. You can change your mind at that point if you need to. There's
That's
marking on your
great.
route. So, yeah, because you never really know, especially somebody doing something that for the first time. It might
Yeah.
take you till you're 35 or 40 miles in to really discover, I think I bit off more than I can chew.
I love that you're saying this because having a lot of options is one of the reasons that I thought this would be such a good challenge for me. Um, I've never actually, I've been riding my bicycle for a pretty long time as an adult. got in a bike accident as a kid that was stopped me riding for a while, but I've used it mostly as a commuter and I've never done an event. So I'm excited to be part of like the community part of this. Tell
Yeah.
me more about what is the community like?
Well, in part, we try to make the event in that community about more than just the day of the ride.
Hmm.
Um, we try to keep folks together even through the winter. Well, we have a
Hmm.
Facebook group, which we do intentionally rather than a page, so that people can, post things themselves. It's a way to communicate, ask questions about riding or diabetes, and particularly for folks living with diabetes or say a parent with a child newly diagnosed to be have something that they're a part of where there's other people that understand and support them. That's what we want our event to be, is creating that type of community. When we get to the better weather, we do training rides. We have a weekly ride every Wednesday in Lexington, um, because we want to highlight a couple of things. One is, diabetes isn't about one day, and
Hmm.
what we do isn't about one day. And learning that for yourself, if you're looking to better manage diabetes or lower your risk, it's a year-round thing. So we want people to recognize, you're with us and we're with you all year long. It's not just about one day in August. And that's, I find, is very comforting for people trying something like this for the first time. They actually get to meet people, before they get to the ride that day and maybe get to practice riding with some folks. And particularly folks who live with diabetes and they're choosing to try to get more active and have chosen cycling, um, it gives them some confidence that there's others just like them that have done this. There's people that they can meet. So that is the power of this community that we have, that it's really not just about the bike ride. It's bringing people together. And um, it's, I mean, the day of the tour is the hardest day I work any day of the year, but it is the most fun that we have because all of these people come together and
Hmm.
it's the same for them. They've been working toward this all year and it kind of culminates in this achievement. And for people living with diabetes or caretakers of people with diabetes to see that there's hundreds of people there that are just as motivated as they are to one do something about this disease and improve their loved ones' lives, but also just to be together and just see there's other people. The conversations that folks have, sharing advice, is as valuable as anything else that we do.
It makes me really excited to hear you talk about that. You and I both have plenty of people in our lives who have been touched by diabetes and for whom
Mhm.
it's been like such a huge change. I dated an incredible person back when I was in my 20s who had diabetes. I witnessed what it was like doing for him, and the way things had shifted. Um, I have family members. I've had probably more friends than I can count, some of whom I never knew had diabetes. And there's many variants of it.
Yep.
One story that is really important to me right now, and I'll add his GoFundMe QR code in this blog post, is my friend Phil. Phil Dwyer is an incredible bartender. I told you about him in an
Yep.
email. And he's one of the most generous, loving people I know. He might never get into cycling specifically because he's also legally blind, but he's a professional level golfer, so I wouldn't put anything
Oh,
past
wow.
him. And he and his wife, Emma, are expecting their first child, a daughter, in October. And he has pretty crushing medical debt because of the various things, both his eyes, his sight, and the diabetes. And like
Yeah.
keeping up with all of that is so much for so many people. I mean, as someone who has worked in medical systems, like it would be a whole other conversation to go into how incredibly powerful it would be for the association to find a cure. Um, I'm curious, what is one thing that you think is going to be helpful for the world to understand, or anyone who happens to see this podcast, about what it means to live with diabetes?
One of the big things, and you're touching on when you're talking about the crushing debt, there is so much burden on people living with diabetes, and not just them, but their families, because for one thing, it is 24/7.
Mhm.
You have to, you know, be vigilant when you're living with diabetes because, unlike some people may have the impression is like, well, you just take this insulin and you're all set. Or you take your medication for type 2 and you're all set. It's like it doesn't really work that way, unfortunately. Diabetes is relentless in looking for ways to, you know, create havoc in your body. And people who, they might be on a med for 3 months and everything's going really well. And then one more week and all of a sudden it's not working as well. People who uh, have type 1 and they use insulin and they really watch what they're eating and they have 6 days in a row and everything's going really well. On the seventh day, they do the same thing and all of a sudden everything's it goes haywire. They have blood sugar runs low. It's unpredictable and it's every single day that you have to be checking these numbers. And it's they talk about with the devices that we have now where you can monitor your blood glucose, your sugar levels. And that's great, but it's also what can happen is some folks get obsessed because you can. So they're constantly, I mean, think of somebody would constantly be checking their blood pressure or their heart rate, or, it's good that we have all these devices that can do things, but if we just get overly obsessed with them, it it just mentally taxing
Yes.
because, everybody's blood sugar levels will go up and down during the course of the day.
Mhm.
Well, for the average person, it's like, well, yeah, that's what it's going to do. But when you're living with diabetes and you see it going in one direction or another, your concern is like, well, is it going to go too high? Am I going to have to do something and anticipate it? So imagine that every single day. They talk about diabetes burnout. And I think that, you know, aside from the physical burden, is having to deal with that. And again, it's an entire family, but
Mhm.
parents of a young child
Mhm.
that you have to do this every day. And I think folks, because they're familiar with insulin or other meds, they're like, well, all they have to do is take this and everything's fine. And unfortunately, that's not the case. It's a real challenge. So, and that's one of the, when I talked about community, that's one of the things we're bringing folks together is they get to share these experiences. And they may all have great doctors, but it's not the same as having a conversation with somebody who lives with this as well.
Yeah.
And it helps get them through it. And I can tell you that in our camps we have for kids with diabetes,
Mm.
social media became a real boon for them because they would go to camp for 2 weeks and they'd make all these connections and they'd have somebody that understood what their life was like.
Mhm.
Well, in the old days, maybe they could write a letter or phone call. Now that that community they build exists beyond going to camp for the 1 or 2 weeks. And that
Mhm.
is so important for folks that having somebody who just understands what you're going through. So
Yeah.
I think it's important for people to understand it's not just simply addressed until they get the cure, they just take their insulin and they're fine. And that's just not the way it is.
Yeah. I'm so glad you talk about the importance of social media for people who are living with this particular disease. Um, I know as somebody who worked as a therapist for a period of time that social media is kind of like it's a complex tool. And but what I think of all the time is how it's a way for people to stay in touch with their people over time.
Mhm.
And I started following the Facebook page. I haven't used it a lot, but like I there is nothing more powerful than feeling like, yes, I have my family and I have my people. And
Right.
at the age, like in adolescence, that matters like more than and maybe any other time in life. So I'm excited to hear that there's a camp, and like I'll have you email me like a link to it or something and put that
Okay.
in the notes as well. But I'm thinking about the ways in which you must have experienced so many things since 94 when you got involved with this Ride for the Cure, and the way that the organization and the approach must have shifted over the years. What is one of the things you're most proud of as you think about your like many years in the space of being part of this important organization?
I'll honestly say is being a part of connecting people, um, and helping people recognize there's others out there, going through what they are, and that there's people that support them. Um, you know, I I think that sometimes people in my position are running something that, you know, I don't happen to live with diabetes, and I think having stayed with this for so long, um, I, you know, I recognized what we could do with this event, and it became a passion for me. It's like, you know, one of the big things about the bike ride is people who come to it because of the ride and they stay for the cause. And I am absolutely one of those because you recognize you can do something you thoroughly enjoy, like cycling, and at the same time be making a positive difference in people's lives. And, I got more and more involved and ended up making what I say my passion, my profession. And it's, you know, sure we have crazy days, but it's knowing that we're doing something that makes a difference for people and having the opportunity that I do to interact individually with folks because is what we call a peer-to-peer event. Um, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel that what I do every day, makes a difference. And that hearing folks that they appreciate it and that beyond that we're raising money for research and programs, it's that we're there to have this community and then with it there with them all year round. The number of friends I have, how many people I know who live with diabetes, the percentage has skewed crazily over the last 30 something years. Probably maybe there was a handful back then. Now it's in the dozens or hundreds.
Mhm.
And because of this, and I love where I'm in circumstances where somebody asks about either diabetes or the ride and why we do it, and I'm able to raise awareness because that's one of our big issues is people just don't understand it. Um, they kind of view it as, well, they're in that boat because they did something they shouldn't have done, or and that's not the case. And I'm able to, kind of have folks see the light a little bit on that, and that's what that it's beyond what I do during the week or during the work hours or whatever. It's I feel I'm always out there and have that opportunity to advocate for people that live with this disease.
Thank you for doing that because it is true that until we are closely adjacent to a real human who's vulnerable with us about what's going on for them and what it's actually like to live with something, we really don't understand and we tend to make assumptions. So we need more and more advocates like in the world in general to speak up when people have misunderstandings. And yeah, it feels delightful to me to know that you've been at it and you have such longevity in this space. Um, because not everybody stays in a gig like the one you're in for as long as you do. I'm like saluting you, sir.
Well, I remind people that, they're not in it professionally or work. I said, you can still do as much as I do in terms of relationships with people. And, I won't be here forever, but I will still remain connected and, be a part of doing this. And that is, like I said, that day when all of these people come together, it's pretty special.
So I want to ask you a few more logistical questions about
Sure.
the day. Okay. So you said that the 62 mile and the 100-mile riders, they start at the same time. Is that the 6 a.m. start time?
So they check in at 6 o'clock, they leave at 7 o'clock.
All right. Leave at 7. All right. What about people like me who are riding for 15 miles?
So the 15-mile ride leaves at 10 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the 32-mile ride leaves at 9 o'clock. And the
Okay.
5-mile ride leaves 10 or 15 minutes after the 15-mile ride, about 10:20. And
Okay.
it's the idea is ideally, we'd like to get as many people back around lunchtime.
Mhm.
Um, the one catch was that people riding 100 miles, you know, that's nice for us to shoot for, but not everybody's going to get back that fast. I mean, some of the people
Yeah.
doing that 100, they're not back till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it
Mhm.
could be they're having a long day or they had some mechanical issues with their
Mhm.
bike, but they're out there for quite a while and they
Mhm.
understand. Nobody's coming back saying, "Why didn't you hold lunch until we got back here?" Or why didn't you, you had your ceremonies before we get back? Well, because there would have been people around here for 3.5 hours by the time. But if you're doing 100 miles, or what we call a century, they understand that. What's important is that we are there to greet them when they come back. So the people's day will range from, you know, 45 minutes to an hour to 6, 7 or more hours, depending on which route they choose.
That
And
makes
it's
sense.
so it's a lot of the people come, and this is a thing about the ride. They come for the ride, be it they want the ride experience. But in
Hmm.
the course of getting involved, as we build that community, they learn a lot more
Yeah.
about diabetes and the ADA. But the logistics is we try to get us all back together like between 11:30 and 2, where there's a lot of things going on and there's lunch and there's a beer garden and there's an ice cream truck and all kinds. It's a big party at the end. That's the plan. So,
Love that. Now, let me ask you, what is the wildest thing that's ever happened at the party that you can remember?
oh, my number is, well, I will tell you one of the more memorable things that
Okay.
was last year. There was a team called Team Evie, and it was formed by parents and grandparents of a little girl, I believe Evie's 6 now, um, who lives with type 1. And her grandparents are avid cyclists, and they were doing the 100-mile ride with a group of friends. But they made a plan to meet, a couple of miles out from the finish with
Mhm.
Evie's Evie and her parents. And
Okay.
when they came, we have a big arch and you come through the finish line. And when they came through the finish line, they had, and I still don't know how they did it, they had Evie standing like on her father's legs as he came through on the bike with her hands raised over her head. It was like, that was unbelievable. I've never seen, and I will always remember that one. Um,
Wow.
in fact, Evie's grandfather is so determined. 5 weeks ago, he had knee replacement surgery, and he's intending to ride 62 miles on August 16th. Yeah. Um,
Gosh, it sounds like Evie might have a career as a circus star coming up
oh, yeah, it
eventually.
certainly looked that way when she came through. I just couldn't believe it. But, and it's, you know, people surprise themselves that they went as far as they did, or,
Mhm.
um, but they find something out there while they're riding in themselves that they didn't know they had, or they discover.
Mhm.
There's these people they call sweeps. Sweeps are people that ride at the very back of the group. Their job is to stay at the very end,
Okay.
and they will be amazed. They're riding 62 or 100 miles, and there's these people that are willing to ride however slow I go to stay with me so that the
Mhm.
back of the pack is never just left alone to worry about. And people are always like, "You really going to do that?" They're like, "It's my job. That's what I'm here to do." And um, these are experienced cyclists that they just love helping somebody discover, what this is. And um, every year, that's one of my favorite experiences, seeing those people that like they accomplished what they were aiming for, and they recognized somebody was willing to do what they did to help them through that. And that's
Mhm.
kind of you know, it's what this whole community is about, is there's always somebody there to help you get through this challenge. And
Mhm.
that's what we want to demonstrate.
I love this. I hadn't learned the term sweeps yet, and I'm as a teacher and as a person who's worked in so many different spaces, hospitals, crisis spaces, I truly believe that if you don't know the name of your janitor or your custodian or like the support staff who are like making sure that everything is okay and locked up at the end of the night. Like, I don't care how much money you're making, like you're not doing your job. And
I
that,
agree.
I I am like I might end up being a sweep maybe in a future ride because I'm pretty good at moving slowly sometimes. I'm more of a marathoner in terms of like I'll do something slowly, like psychologically a
Yeah.
marathoner. I've not like done any marathon things. Maybe I'll be doing, the 62 or 100 in a year or two. I'm curious, do you ever do the ride yourself these days or no?
Uh, well, I mean, I did them for years, but once I became the coordinator of the one day event, I couldn't, I was just busy
Yeah.
doing too many other things. I
Yeah.
will say that, for 6 years, I coordinated our multi-day event, and that was people would ride 2 days or 7 days.
Wow.
And that's what I had done for years. And after, um, I'd been in that job, I think 3 or 4 years. I was able to do a couple of the later days because that's a
Hmm.
very different event. I tell people that, a tour de cure is like a carnival. There's all this activity going on, and it's all about this start finish location. The New England Classic was a point to point ride that you rode in a circle, and each day you left one place and you finished at a completely different destination. So I'd say that was more like a traveling circus. And we took the circus with us everywhere we went. And then when we got further along and there were fewer people, I was able to occasionally ride it. But there's always people asking me, what are you going to ride? What route are you going to ride? And I'm like, I will have ridden all of them by the time we get to this date, but I'm not riding them on that day,
Well,
unfortunately.
that might be a fun thing for you to get to do the ride when you finally retire from working for the organization.
I will admit it is definitely something I've thought about.
Down the
Because
road.
I know all the things they're experiencing. And,
Hmm.
the other thing is that I don't relax until every rider is back. We put all these people out on the road and we're doing everything we can, but
Hmm.
I want to know everybody's in. As soon as that happens, all right, then I can relax
That's
because,
so beautiful.
well, they were always thanking us and we're like, you've done so much for us. And
Mhm.
many people, when they do this, they feel an obligation. I mean, the way a peer-to-peer works is you sign up and you pledge to raise X amount of money, and then you go out and ask friends to support you. And I know many folks, their feeling is, I told 30 people I was going to ride 60 miles. And if they make those donations, and, you know, there's no way I'm not going to finish those 60 miles. And you see some folks come in and they are, they're pretty burned out. They hadn't done something like that before, but they were determined to finish. So I
Yeah.
feel that they're doing that for us. We need to make sure we're taking care of them.
Now, what I love about events like this is that people are pushing themselves and doing something for a cause that matters so much. I also loved hearing you talk about the fact that there's safety people around all the time. And of course, if it's unhealthy for you to finish your ride, like the money still goes to the organization and the cause. And like you learn more about yourself in the process. What is one thing you've learned about yourself in the past few years of coordinating the ride? Because sure things like shifted over COVID and like recently, what have you been learning about yourself?
Um, that my favorite part is being with the people. Um, you know, I am not a I'm not a fundraiser by training or anything. I
Okay.
was in the newspaper business for 30 years before
Oh,
I was doing
okay.
any of this. And that is not what, I mean, we have goals and all that. That is not what really excites me or motivates me. What motivates me is getting other people excited and them
Mhm.
looking forward to it. And um, I I also discovered I like to talk, though, and many of my friends would say, "Well, that's no surprise." But I sometimes feel like that's part of my job is because everybody has questions, and everywhere I go, and um, I'm comfortable with it. And
Mhm.
it wasn't until I started doing this I was, very hesitant to get up in front of a crowd and speak. That just wasn't my thing. And then as I got more involved, and I was a chairman, and you had to, I
Mhm.
discovered all you gotta do is get them to laugh, and then you relax. And it was a term that I came to use over the years, and it still holds true. I said, you know, the first three letters in fundraising are the most important. In an
Yeah.
event like this, it needs to be fun, and it's
Hmm.
not as if we're forgetting the serious nature of why we're doing it. But when people come together and they're enjoying each other's company and you're making it fun, it it just is more appealing. It gets people through the challenge um, because people like people, and that's our at our rest stops. We want the people that are volunteering there and handing out the water and the sports drink and the food and all. We want them to have as much fun as the riders because it's reciprocal. You come
Hmm.
in and you're
Yeah.
tired and you get some people that are just standing behind a table and say, "Hey, you want a banana?" But you got people coming in and they're ringing cowbells and they're cheering for you and they have music playing and now we have crazy themes. All of the rest stops, there's a universal theme. Last year it was TV shows.
Okay.
This year it's going to be movies, and they will
Okay.
dress up like characters from the movies and have music playing. And
Oh,
we had
fun.
the entire crew of Gilligan's Island was at one of our rest stops last year,
Oh, I
all
love
dressed
that.
up. And that just, it brightens the day for somebody who's have done 40 miles and is, 20 something more to go. And they come into the rest stop like that. It makes a difference. And the
Love it.
volunteers love it because, it's almost like their performance. They see the riders come in and smiling and enjoying it. It just encourages them to keep going and do it more. And every time we make it fun. And it's particularly important on days when it's blazing hot or it's pouring rain. And you
Yeah,
got people
God.
that are capable of still smiling and having
Mhm.
fun. It just kind of gets you through it.
This is so great. I'm so excited to see the movie themes now. Now, let me ask you, Tim.
Yeah.
Where are the best places for people to enter in via public transit, or if they're parking, where is the best place to park?
So, um, public transit, I think there's a bus that gets pretty close to Hanscom Field. But if you're coming with your bike, there's a limited number of bikes that you can get on there. Um, well, if you're willing to ride a little bit,
Hmm.
if you take the red line to Alewife, you
Hmm.
can jump on the Minuteman Bike Trail right there and
Okay.
ride to,
Hmm.
to Lexington. That's one way to do it.
Okay.
Um, Closest commuter rail stations to there.
Hmm.
There's not one in Lexington. Maybe there's one in Concord.
Okay.
Um, I will admit it's not the most uh, convenient that way. But the Hanscom bus and the red line from Alewife are the two that
Okay.
most readily come to mind. You
Cool.
could take, you could take uh, the bus through Arlington and as
Hmm.
far as Arlington Heights,
Hmm.
and then you're not too far from there. And if you took the bike, you can jump on the bike path. The bike path is, to me, if you can do it, is the best way to get there because it literally
Cool.
goes right behind our site. So
Okay. I
you're
love
very
that.
close to the bike path.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to see how I'm feeling that morning, but I conceptually I like it. Um, I'll probably do like some searching around Hanscom Field to find like, I don't know, a store or something that maybe I can park while I'm doing it. What is one of the what is one of the ways in which you see people collaborating? Like I'm already like messaging with a few people about carpooling
Yep.
from Somerville to Lexington, which is why I'm like I'm probably going to be driving that day.
Yeah.
Um, I I remember you saying when we talked on the phone that there are places where you can rent bikes, and certainly someone could like rent a blue bike and ride that. But
Yeah, you can do a blue bike.
what are some of the local bike shops that might be renting?
I will be honest, not a lot of shops rent
Um,
bikes these days.
right, right.
One of the more popular ones is Urban Adventures, which is in
Okay.
downtown Boston.
Yeah, I
It's
know
very
them.
close to
Uh-huh.
Christopher Columbus Park.
Yeah.
They rent a lot of bikes.
Okay.
So that is
Mhm.
one way to do it.
Okay.
Um, I this might sound a different approach, but there are some organizations.
Hmm.
One is the Lowell Bike Connector. Another
Mm.
one is, and I'm not sure, I don't know as much about, it's called CBGB, Cambridge Bike Give
Oh,
Back. And
okay.
these are organizations that collect old bikes, they fix them up, and then
Mhm.
um, they sell them for a very low price.
I love that.
Sometimes, you know, you can get a bike in some of these places for not a whole lot more than you'd be paying to
Yes.
rent a bike. So,
Okay.
that's one approach. The blue
Yeah.
bikes, for sure, especially if you're not doing a really long route.
Hmm.
Um, I think Landry's in Boston might still
Mm.
do some renting.
Yeah, they're such a great franchise. It would be worth looking
Yes,
into.
they're
I
very
might give
good.
them a call. Yeah, they're
Um,
great. Let me
a
ask
lot
you.
of it,
Go ahead.
the COVID, as much as it got a lot more people on bikes, um, bicycle rentals kind of went away a little bit during
Hmm.
COVID,
Hmm.
like a lot of things did.
Yeah,
But
interesting.
I wish there was more of them out there.
Yeah.
Um, but at least we have the blue bikes.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
should mention we do have parking in and around the site. So there we do have parking lots where a number of businesses are kind enough to let us just use their parking lots on the day of the tour.
Awesome. Cool.
So on our website,
Okay.
I was working on the map today. We'll be
Uh-huh.
uploading the maps where folks can go and park and free parking,
Awesome.
and it's relatively close to the tour.
That's wonderful. Um, One of the things that I think is most wonderful about this event is that people can participate from anywhere in the world, and like be, doing some sort of route from their town, any place, and maybe map with their watch or their,
Yeah.
you know, by looking it up on Google Maps ahead of time, like doing one of the routes. And you said there's even like, people will get T-shirts and still be able to get some fun of the
Oh,
purchased
sure.
items. Yeah.
We have what we call virtual riders, and this is something
Okay.
that really grew
Hmm.
during COVID and then
Yeah.
continued. Is
Yeah.
obviously we didn't have events. We
Hmm.
used to have what we call virtual events, and I would always
Hmm.
argue, well, that's an oxymoron because if it's virtual, it's not an event. But we uh, we would have people ride in their neighborhood with their small group of friends, and now we've got folks that there's no longer a tour de cure close to them, but they will sign up and they say, "Well, I'm going to ride." There's a gentleman up in Maine, and he's already mapped out a 62-mile route, and he was going
Yeah.
to ride it. Maybe not even necessarily the same day, but somewhere close to
Yeah.
when we have the tour.
Hmm.
He raises funds. The folks that do that are not obligated to raise a minimum amount of money, but many of
Hmm.
them raise quite a bit, and it
Hmm.
allows them to still be involved. There's another gentleman who is from Nebraska, and
Hmm.
he has over the last couple of years participated virtually in a number of other events. He's done Chicago this year. He's doing ours next year. He's doing Colorado, but all in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
it's a great
awesome.
way, and there's people also that they walk or they run or they swim or
Hmm.
they're just getting out and getting active at
Yeah,
around the same time that we're doing this.
that's awesome. Well, I'm excited to see, and I'm going to ask what is the color this year of like jerseys and t-shirts and things. I want to make sure I wear the right
Okay.
leggings that day.
The T-shirt that riders will be given is a nice bright red T-shirt.
Okay, fun.
Um, then we have a tour jersey that so the 88 colors are black, red, and white. You can see in the
Yeah,
shirt I have here.
yeah.
Um, so this year the tour jersey is actually predominantly black with red and white highlights on it.
Okay, cool.
So it's a very nice looking jersey.
Hmm.
I prefer, we have a jersey that we give to folks who live with diabetes. They're called Red Riders. So we have a special Red Rider jersey that folks can earn, and that is almost entirely red,
Okay.
which is a great type of shirt to be wearing when you're out on the road.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
those are the jerseys. like a lot of things, the colors have gone back and forth. We had other years where we used every color under the sun, and for a few years we restricted it to the the colors that are in our brand. I can
Hmm.
tell you next year we're going to go back to some different colors. It'll be more like a blue,
Oh,
but
fun.
they're the I always like the t-shirts. The t-shirts are nice, bright and red. They have a nice
Hmm.
bicycle icon on it.
Hmm.
So, and I always have, if anybody's interested, because over the course of the years, I've collected multiple versions of what I call vintage Red Rider jerseys.
Oh,
And
cool.
because the Red Rider jersey looks different every year, and
Hmm.
we have to estimate the number, so we always have a few left here and there. So
Hmm.
anytime I go to an event, I try to bring some of these with me. And anybody who comes up and talks to me, whether they have diabetes or a loved one has diabetes, if I've got a size that can fit, I
Hmm.
can hook them up with a Red Rider jersey. So
That's
if you know any Red
awesome.
Riders out there, let me know, and I'll see if I can get them a jersey.
I love this. This is great. Well, I'm curious. The collaborative that I started a year and a half ago, we are making some new merch that has this beautiful image of a fox riding a bicycle made by a local
Oh,
artist.
cool.
And I would love to offer like one shirt to somebody who has like a particularly like compassionate moment, like
Okay.
something that gets witnessed maybe by a sweeper or maybe it's for one of the sweepers. I kind of want to like I'll bring like a box of them in the car and like you and I can maybe like, I'm doing a 15
Okay.
mile. We'll like do a thing. And you'll be like, this is something I saw. I'd really like to give one to this
All
person.
right.
and and I might like, bring some and have some for other people on my team. I don't want to like usurp the energy because you're going to be having a lot of shirts, but we'll have like
Okay.
stickers and other things too, for our team, Team 44.4. Let me ask you, is that like that's okay for me to bring some things in my car, right?
Oh, sure. I mean, if you're
Cool.
willing to share something like that, that'd be great.
I
And I
love
love the idea of, choosing to recognize somebody for, you know, doing something compassionate or supporting others.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Um, we have, we have a little ceremony and we acknowledge people with different things, but that'd be a pretty cool one to have.
Yeah,
So,
it would be a fun like a secret edition at the end. Like here is an unusual shirt that is not one of our
yeah,
normal things. For me, that would be fun to just plant that as a thing.
we could even find a way in our cycling village where there's a lot of cycling oriented groups. Um, I could spread the word among select people to give us some nominations for somebody that they believe
Oh, I
earned it,
love
that
that.
are out
That's
on the
so
road,
cool.
and we'll see what they come up with and have them
That's
give
beautiful.
them bring them over to the cycling village, and then you and I can take a look and
Okay.
be among the nominees.
That's so great.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for the event. Tim, is there anything else that you think it's important for people to know about the event before I get you into the lightning round of questions?
Okay. Well, one thing you touched on, I think, is very important in events like these is, people that feel that they have to finish it and they're having a hard, and they feel bad about, oh, I said I'd do 30, I can't stop now. Everybody's a hero before their riding even starts
Hmm.
because they chose to do something for somebody else. So they don't have to prove it on the bike. They're already a hero.
Yeah.
That and I used to point out to people, I said, everybody when you're a little kid and you're grown up, you want to be a superhero. What do superheroes wear? They will wear very bright, tight-fitting clothing, just like a cyclist. So you're already a hero on two wheels.
Yeah. I love the moments when we are humbled as humans. Something about midlife brings this out in us a little bit more. We have been through enough that maybe we're able to just walk the bicycle instead
Yeah.
of feeling like we have to complete exactly what we set out to do or like make a new best time or something like that. Um, I am somebody who has trained a lot of people in voice and singing and also like from a yogi and like therapy perspective how to calm yourself down through breathing. And I know that a lot of the people who are there are trained first responders who will help people calm down if they realize that they've pushed themselves too hard or if anybody
Hmm.
gets hurt. um I am excited to ask you some questions that I often ask. And I already told you before we started recording, you can skip some if any of them want to
Okay,
be skipped, okay?
I'll see what I can do.
Okay. What is one thing you wish people would stop saying?
Uh, Let me think on that a second.
Mhm.
Um, when it comes to diabetes, it's their own fault. That is something I cannot stand because I hear it. You know, even people talking about someone with type 1 diabetes and saying, well, your parents probably let you eat too much candy when you were a kid, which has zero to do with it's. And I know people that have told me they've gotten that response. So that's what, stop blaming the person that's dealing with this burden they did not choose to live with.
Thank you. That's a really good answer. What is one thing you wish more people would automate?
Um, you mean automate like something I can do with an app automate or
Maybe. I mean, this
um,
is kind of a general question.
um, well, thankfully, a lot of people automate fundraising now. That makes my life a little easier than when we used to run around with a sheet of paper and have to write all these things down. Somebody made a pledge and they need to go back and get the check. Now it's just click. Um, oh boy, automated. I don't know. I wish something that was automated to remind me of things that, I know you can set reminders on your phone, but you still have to remember to set the reminder. I, that is my thing. Or, at my age, it's like remembering why did I go downstairs? No, that I could use that for sure.
Tim, you're a few years older than me, and I have that problem too. So, but but I hear you. Yeah, I'm like, maybe we'll talk later, but maybe we can come up with something. Name a person or an experience that regularly delights you, Tim.
Uh, that's my grandkids,
Okay,
without question.
that's beautiful. If you were a song, what song would you be?
Oh, I can tell you that because my wife has it on her phone.
Okay.
Um, it's by Billy Joel. It's called "Why Do I Go to Extremes?"
Oh, wow. Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Billy Joel's awesome. Okay. We can
Oh,
get more into that, but that's
yeah.
great. Um, all right. What is your favorite poem?
Um, I like Teddy Roosevelt. Well, technically, it's the poem about the man in the ring.
The Man in the Ring.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah,
think
I
it's
think
technically
that,
from a speech, but yeah, it's poetic.
yeah. Um, I mean, I honestly, when it comes to poetry, I think more of songs. And
Hmm.
there's two people I like a lot. People would say but they're people that tell stories. Billy Joel and Garth Brooks. I could pick any number of songs by those guys because they have messages, and usually they're uplifting or they're asking people to think beyond themselves. Those kind of.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I like those a lot.
Thank you for bringing two wonderful musicians into the conversation. I ask these questions because I'm a music educator originally. And
Ah,
one thing that I often tell people when they're going through hard things is like, what is a song that you could be playing in your head or that you could put on to change the way you're feeling? And especially when it comes to athletics or training, like sometimes knowing specifically like the beats per minute, the BPM of songs that like get you motivated or at a right
yeah.
pace is a good way to like get your body into the space it needs to be when you're pushing yourself.
Oh, I have a playlist that is it's called Crawford because we used to on the New England Classic we used to ride up Crawford Notch. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Not
And
yet.
so you needed some motivation to get up Crawford Notch in New Hampshire.
Hey,
And,
I look forward to hearing your playlist.
uh,
Let me let me ask you, who is one of your most important teachers?
uh, Um, I had a lot of good ones. I
Mhm.
will have to say in various levels of education. Um, I I think probably this Mr. Scanlon in high school, who was an
Yeah.
English and theater teacher, and
Okay.
um, who was somebody who got me to do something I never imagined I would do, which was be in a play. Um, and he was really good. Uh, it's when you have somebody who helps you discover something in yourself that you never imagined was there, and he did that. So
Love that. The as someone who has done a lot of theater education, I have to know, what play were you in?
the first play I was in, um, I guess technically I was only in two, but um,
Mhm.
I was in Godspell in high school,
Right.
and
All right.
it was uh, Mr. Scanlon got me in it. I enjoyed him as a teacher, but he wanted to leverage me as someone on the football team to get
Mhm.
another player who was on the football team who sang in St. Paul's choir
Okay.
to be in the play and
Love it.
play the role of John the Baptist. So
Okay.
that's how my experience in that happened. But that
I
was
love that.
and that was a blast. I have to be honest. I knew some of the songs, but I wasn't familiar with Godspell when we did
Mhm.
it. And I was like, it was just great. And the
It's a
ones,
classic for a reason.
oh
It's a
yeah,
phenomenal show. Yeah.
and it taught me a secret in being on stage that um, I can't practice quite as much now because I've had cataract surgery. But um, I wore glasses. I mean, I had horrible eyesight as a kid, and my stage fright evaporated because I discovered that when I was on stage, and the house lights were down and they were on us, and
Mhm.
I couldn't see anybody. So I was like, it might as well be nobody sitting in those seats, and that worked quite well. So
Love that. That's phenomenal. Yeah. I feel like there's nothing like theater education to get people to literally walk in someone else's shoes because often
yeah,
you end up in shoes you wouldn't normally wear. You're in a costume, you're saying
yeah,
things you've never said before. So I love that you have that as part of your story, Tim.
yeah. I enjoyed it. Sometimes I think maybe I should have tried more of that, but it was I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Community theaters always need more men. So this might be like a side gig for you
Maybe
eventually.
it'll be chapter three for me.
Yeah,
Chapter one was
yeah.
newspapers. Chapter two is the ADA. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah. We'll talk. I have connections.
Okay.
But let me finish by asking you a final question because I've gotten through my normal lightning round for Monday Morning Muse, but the theme this summer on Monday Morning Muse is reality check. What are things you wish you had learned in education that you learned from life instead? Like what do you think people should be learning in schools that maybe doesn't get taught?
Um, it's okay to say I messed up. None of us are perfect, and you should be comfortable saying, "Hey, you know, we do so much either trying to run away from it or causing ourselves to do that because we're so afraid of,
Mhm.
failure
Mhm.
that we don't recognize you know, you'll be
Mhm.
okay." I tell people, growing up, and she'll still say it today, my mother, whatever it is that you had go wrong, she
Mhm.
listened to what you have to say. And some people say, my goodness, that's not very compassionate. But really, it was to the point to try to get through your head. Her expression would always be, you'll live. Whatever it
Mhm.
was, you'll
Mhm.
live. And sometimes we have to remember when we make something really big, like it's
Mhm.
literally life and death or life changing, a lot of the
Mhm.
things that we get most anxious about and worked up about are not in any ways close to something that you're not going to get past. It's horrible in the moment, but you have to remember you'll get through this.
Yeah. Tim, it has been such a delight talking with you, learning more about your experience working with the American Diabetes Association. Is there anything else you want to say before we stop recording?
I want to thank you. It's very nice to have an opportunity to share with folks about why we do what we do and why I enjoy it. Um, I love words, so whether it's talking or writing, and to have a discussion like this with you, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and thank you for it.
Well, Tim, I feel such joy when I'm riding my bicycle after reclaiming it as something that I do in my, like, I think I was around 29, 28, 29 when I started cycling again after taking like almost 2 decades off. And I became known for a period of time in Beverly as the happy biker to my neighbors and some of the students that I taught in that area. What is a way we can describe you, Tim Wilson?
Uh, Sometimes a happy biker. It's I'm not fussy about a lot of things.
Mhm.
I'm not going to say there aren't things that make me angry. There certainly are, but I try to not dwell on stuff. So, somebody gave me a card once and it had my, and it just said, just keep pedaling. And that's kind of like, just keep pedaling. And it works on a ride and it works in life
Mhm.
is,
Mhm.
you know, you're not
Mhm.
done. Don't get off yet.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. That you've now given me the name for the episode. Just keep pedaling.
okay. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule. I look forward to meeting you in person on the 16th.
Same here.
All
Thank
right.
you very much, Hannah.
Bye, Tim. And
Bye bye.
bye.